Greetings, everyone. I'm Mark, and I'll be your host for this important live event. On the morning of February the 24th, the lives of Ukrainians changed forever. Vladimir Putin ordered the Russian army to invade Ukraine. He called it a special military operation, when in fact it is a full-scale war, invasion of a sovereign state that has brought war to Europe in a bloody and brutal fashion. As this webinar is about talking to Ukraine, let's position this unjust war in the way Ukrainians have come to see it. Simply put, they have their lives before the war started and their lives after the war started. And now the world watches aghast with a collective breaking heart as the brave people of Ukraine defend values we all hold dear: freedom, democracy, independence, and peace. While we see the sensational events and tragedy of the war on our many screens, some of those images and headlines dominate over other battlefronts of this unjust war. In today's webinar, we want to focus on the economic battlefront. I'd like to establish the red thread that connects the brave defenders on the front line, where the bombs are falling and the bullets are flying, to the engineers that do all they can to continue working to support the Ukrainian economy for the tomorrow that will be when this war is over. So to connect those battlefronts, sovereignty, democracy, and freedom and peace are powerful words. Literally, wars are fought over them. But the reality of these words is for people to have homes, jobs, safety, for their children to grow up in a peaceful environment. These are things that we take for granted, and many, many Ukrainians did until February the 24th. So today, we talk to business leaders who are at the forefront of this economic battlefront, leading their organizations in a time of war, while they also have family and friends in the middle of this unjust war. So let me introduce you to our speakers. We have Elena Zanichovska, founding partner and director of product strategy at the Gradient. We have Alex Medovoy, founder and CEO of Altex and chairman of the board of Kharkiv IT Cluster. We have Andrei Krupa, CEO at Alex, and we have Vitaly Sedler, co-founder and CEO of Intellius and president of the IT Ukraine Association that supports these webinars. So welcome, one and all. Thank you for giving us your time. So I will ask a series of questions and we'll have you all answer them in one round. Let me take the first question and ask it to you, Elena. So let me just get my prompt for the question. So how has the war affected you personally and your families? And what was your first reaction on that day, on that fateful morning, the 24th, and how did that day develop for you?
To start with, thank you very much for joining and organizing this call. So great to see all the colleagues here. I think that, as you mentioned, for all of the Ukrainians, we have had the life before and after the 24th. For me personally, a day before, very big friend of mine died, and I was crying during the whole night. And in the morning, I have heard about the war which started, and there were no more tears to happen because I spent them all the previous night. I think that it was the shock and the question what to do the next, because you do not know what to do. You need to save your children, you need to save your business, you need to save your life, you need to save your house. So I think that this was really one of the hardest days in my life.
Thank you, Elena. Maybe Alex, you could give how those first moments came to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And good to be here, guys. Thanks for organizing this event. So for me personally, on the 24th, I was kind of blessed being in the United States with my wife and the kids. Actually, I was on vacation. So for me, the war started in the late night of the 23rd. I was sitting on the round table with a friend of mine, and we've got this message. And since that time, this nonstop 30 hours with no sleep, because parents, family, close friends, and obviously the whole company and Ukrainian office is around 80% of our staff now. They were all around Ukraine and primarily based around Kharkiv. So I spent the first few days on the phone and messengers trying to do everything to manage the evacuation of the family employees and their families and the loved ones. Most of Altexsoft employees found themselves in Kharkiv as well. So I expected that to happen in a days, actually. We had an all-hands meeting right before the war started, but I frankly believe that we had at least 2 more days. So the attack happened early in the morning of Ukrainian time, as I mentioned, and there was a lot of confusion during the first hours. So some of the people who had their cars ready, they tried to flee after the first missiles hit the city. Many got stuck in traffic jams, and some of the people were heavily fighting around Kharkiv and didn't seem safe to leave at the moment. So I asked my family employees to wait before we were certain it was safe to leave. I found a driver. We evacuated parents the same day, and on the second day we started the whole big evacuation of over 200 people plus their families, so around 600 altogether. So the first day, as I mentioned, took me around 30 to 35 hours up until first buses and first, I think, 65 or 70 cars in caravans started leaving Kharkiv.
Thank you, Alex. Interesting, a new definition of what a day is: 32 hours, and this moment of shock, and then take action, as Elena said, as you said. Maybe Andrei, we could sort of get your views on how those first moments were for you.
My story wouldn't be unique. It's kind of a combination of both Elena's and Alex's story, because the friend that Elena mentioned was a founder and chairman of the board of our company. Unfortunately, he passed away exactly in the afternoon of 23rd, basically before the war started. I think he knew it was coming because he was formerly a member of Ukrainian Parliamentary Commission to NATO. And he had a heart attack basically at the age of 57. So that was already mind-blowing news for us on that afternoon. And the whole company was shocked. And yes, I think I went, so I had the same situation as Alex. I mean, yes, basically now with my family by luckily coincidence. But I was awakened around midnight by our people in Lviv and said, Andrew, wake up. It's the war. It started. We were kind of expecting that it could start, as Alex was saying, maybe in a couple of days. I think each company in Ukraine had some business continuity plans. But I hope, or actually, I think everybody hoped and prayed for it to be just a probability that won't happen. Unfortunately, it did happen. And yes, since then, first priority was and still is the safety of people. Because believe it or not, some people, in our case, don't want to leave Kharkiv still, don't want to leave Kiev still, don't want to leave Sumy still. They're saying, we don't care whether these cities are shelled or bombed, we will still stay here. And maybe just to make this war with a bit of humor, no matter how strange that sounds, we had cases already within the last couple of weeks when we had customer demos and presentations by our team members being delivered from Sumy. And everybody on our side started completely on schedule, was ready. And the person that was delivering the talk basically was seeing that there was shelling happening behind his back near his house and a big blast. He turned around, just watched it and said, okay, I can go on further and continue delivering the presentation. While our customer part was slightly late for the meeting because there was a traffic jam in UK. So you can compare the two realities, and people are living and still taking their job, doing their volunteers, doing the military, I can't say fine, but working on blog posts and civil resistance basically in the evenings, protecting their cities. So that's the new realities that many people found themselves in Ukraine these days.
Thank you, Andy. And I think that example you give, it's something that the world is seeing and getting exposed to. The resilience and fortitude of the Ukrainian people is world renowned now. And you mentioned about people not wanting to leave. I've got a team member whose 80-year-old grandmother will not leave Kiev. He's done his best, but she wants to be there to do her bit. So, Vitaly, please, how those first days, moments were for you as well?
Yeah, this morning was somehow similar to what my colleague said, and I was awakened by a call at, I think it was like 5 or 5:30. from our head of emergency response team, and then just quickly for 2 minutes looking through the news, and it was clear what's happening. So basically, we had to launch our business continuity plan, and at Intellias, like in many other Ukrainian companies, we had our plans in place, right? So the question was only how to turn them on and how efficiently you can execute that. And for Intellias, the start was quite successful. So basically, in just a couple of hours after we said yes, we need to start on our BCPs, first buses already were leaving Kharkiv and Kyiv regions with people in these buses, right, evacuating to Western Ukraine. So luckily, fortunately, we were fast in execution, and this led to the fact that we have relocated more than 1,300 people, so our employees, our colleagues and family members from other regions of Ukraine into Western Ukraine, and close to 400 of them are now were moved from Ukraine to Krakow, to our Polish office, mostly women and kids, because men are not allowed out of the country now. So that's the result of being quite well prepared. But on the other hand, now looking back at what happened, I think it's like 20 days ago. So I remember myself just stop dreaming about how we built our business, stop thinking about our futures, as I as CEO do always, right? It's just putting yourself in a box, understanding that you have to execute this specific plan, the specific process, and go on, right? So that's time of full concentration and of execution for myself and for our team.
Thank you, Vitaly. That's a good segue to the next question. You all spoke about the moment of shock and then action. Elena and Andrei, you had something on top that you were dealing with, and then you kind of had to put that aside. Vitaly, you said go into a box. And I think all of you as leaders, and this is interesting in these difficult circumstances for the audience, is you then had to, even if you were in that box, you had to think about family's personal side, but running your business, making getting your people safe. One of the delivery guys I was speaking to in that sort of second week said, Mark, we're doing okay delivery. He said, we're doing really good delivery. Then he said, no, it's okay. And I made him stop and said, dude, it's brilliant. You're in a war zone and you're delivering. So this is excellent. And I think that's, so the question, let's go to you, Alex. As the war has progressed, what strategies and tactics have you applied to mitigate the risks? And how have you managed your business while this war is going on?
Yeah. So I would be focused maybe on 3 major things from my perspective. The first one is actually logistics, obviously. So as probably all my colleagues, we had an emergency committee that we created before this started. And in terms of logistics, we've done pretty well. We actually had emergency plans since 2014, after the first attack on Ukraine happened right then. And we just updated them. We're updating them over a period of time. So in terms of logistics, we had an office in Lviv on the west of Ukraine. We also had an office in the middle of Ukraine in Kremenchuk, which apparently we converted to a shelter for thousands and thousands of people. So we had pretty maximalist plans to evacuate everyone in the company. And like my colleagues mentioned, some of the people didn't want to leave from the very early beginning. We still have a few people left in the very dangerous regions, but it's still maybe few people left. I'm proud to say that we managed to realize and implement all the plans. Not only we did evacuate about 95% of staff to safer regions, but also their families and the people in need. In total, Altexsoft evacuated more than 2,000 people in a fortnight. And I would say more than half of them were not actually people associated with the company anyhow. We had several scenarios. We had few days scenario, 6-hour scenario, 30-minute scenario. We used the last one. We stick to the worst case. 150 employees and families left Kharkiv in 2 waves. This was handled perfectly. As I mentioned, 2 buses, then another bus, around maybe 70, 75 cars altogether. In the second wave of the evacuation, we booked another buses, brought them from the middle of Ukraine, from Kremenchuk to Lviv, opened up an emergency office in Ivano-Frankivsk, now another one in Uzhgorod. So by March 14, we had 95% of employees not just being evacuated, but returning back to their works. As from the infrastructure standpoint, this is the second big accent that I want to make. We've been prepared. Before the war started, we completely switched to 100% cloud infrastructure, allowing employees to work location agnostic from any place in the world. And the third one, and probably the most critical, is the communication. I would say that you know how challenging, and probably my colleagues will confirm that, is to convince people to make a hard decision to leave. Even though for us now, it's very hard to comprehend that, but when you've been bombed, it's very hard to do that. So we started communicating with people daily. We handle all hands few times a week, and actually we communicate with the customers on a regular basis. So messengers, chats, etc. So we know now, as of now, the procedures set up in a following way that we know exactly for the Telegram bots and the other tools where every person in the company is exactly based. No exceptions, including myself. So this is how we responded to that.
Thank you. Thank you. So Andrei, I'll move to you, and to, I guess, avoid repetition, you will have, I guess, a similar story about the evacuation. I mean, Happy, please do emphasize, because what I imagine is you also know where everyone is. But on top of that, any nuances you want to add to that, because it is extreme, and most people have never experienced trying to run a business, doing it successfully as a war is kicking off. So your take on that question, please, Andrei.
I would maybe catch up from the last piece that Alex mentioned, which is communication. Because yes, ensuring that your people know what you are doing, and actually knowing where they are and knowing how you can support them is one big thread of communication that is still ongoing already through the third week of the war. But at the same time, the same vital communication was for us to keep, even until now, a daily track of communication with all the customers. So what we started doing is basically keeping up everyone of our customers aware what is the factual situation. So where are your teams? How safe they are? What is percentage of people who are working? And basically how we see this war developing so far. Because probably you know that many people in the West didn't believe that Ukraine can last longer than 2 or 3 days when this war will start. So this was very vital to let people know this is how we see situation, because from cross-cultural communication perspective, it very much depends how you see situation depending where you reside and what you read and what you watch on TV. So even if you watch here Fox News or CNN, it's sometimes different stories, but you can imagine how it differs from a Ukrainian perspective and people in the fields, when you have volunteers already fighting, when you have people in the Ukrainian military already fighting, when you have people in their own cities. Just basically you're on the ground. You have intelligence that you can provide to your customers to ensure them, guys, it's not that bad. Guys, we still can manage to deliver that. And yes, you might all be saying, take care of your people safety first, but we understand that you all still have business to run. So was that what we tried to do to ensure that, I don't want to say until our last breath as our soldiers in the fields, but until our last ability, we will keep delivering no matter what. And I think this example of a person being in Sumy and still doing customer demo, no matter being shelled, is the best evidence of that.
Thank you, Andrei. Yes, and well said. There's a certain guy in Russia who didn't expect it to last more than a couple of days, and he's been proven wrong, although we don't do politics now. Maybe Vitaly, and when you were answering the former question, you mentioned about being in that box, and then through Alex and Andrei, they talk about also the communication, and sometimes you have to come out of focusing on that operations from that box point, but you're communicating outwardly. How did you find that, managing the inside, but also, you've got external operations and external customers with that communications piece? Your take on that, mitigating strategies and going forward as it's progressed.
Yeah, communication is definitely the very important thing, right, for our company to do, and both internal and external communication. And I would touch here one another point is that when we communicate to clients, explaining how we deliver, how we continue, what Ukrainians feel, what our company feels, our employees and Ukraine in general, how it feels, and what we think about. So our customers often come back to us asking how we can help, right? And they 100% of our clients did ask this question. They have shown a lot of empathy for Ukraine in these circumstances. So especially we had a lot of support from our Israeli clients, right, who kind of can understand us a little bit better. And we made a little page which we share with our clients, and then you have a couple of links where you can donate some money and so on. But if our clients ask what is one single thing they can do for us, how they can help us, we always say that, the best support for Ukrainians, the best support for the country and for our people at Intellias, for our business, is just continue working with us, right? So have our people sitting at the keyboards, continue delivering. We can deliver, right? So all of my friends who manage similar companies, they have very high percentage, 95, 97% of delivery operations. So we are back at work, and we ask our clients to stay with Ukrainian companies, to grow basically business with Ukrainian companies, right? Because that's what drives the economy. That's what brings money into the country, and that's what helps our fight on the economical battlefront, right? So that's very important message that we share to all of our clients and to their networks. That's real help for us, right? Of course, they can donate somewhere, they can help civilians, they can help army forces, but when we're talking about economical situation, the country without economy would not last long, right? So that's why keeping up the business, responding to our ability to deliver by giving us, by extending the contracts, giving us more contracts, that's one very important thing that we ask our clients to do.
Yes, thank you, Vitaly. As we said, the economic battlefront, we feel that those of us who are connected to the Ukraine through business, we feel the humanitarian support, but this working with, remaining a partner to Ukraine, keeping the people busy and keeping energy in the economy is critical. Elena, I know it's difficult when you're the fourth on the same question, but someone has to be. So, but maybe your take, if you want to give a different start.
I will take the opposite side, because guys talked about the business, about continuity, about the communication with the customers, and about all the great logistics they have done. But there is one more interesting side of that. This is the motivation of people to work. And this was one of the challenges we met, because it's, when you are safe and your company help you to be safe, and now you just need to work, but everybody fights there and your relatives are in trouble and so on and so on. And we needed some motivation for people to proceed working, to proceed delivery. And it's also about the communication. And the decision we made is that 100% of all the operational profits we do have, we donate to the army. So the company is now operating not for the profit for ourselves, but to give people their workplaces, to give people their salary, to help people to donate, and also to invest all our money, which they help us to really get, because we can't do anything without our people, to invest them back into the Ukrainian economy and the Ukrainian army, and also to help our people to volunteer. So we focused all our non-delivery stuff, like HR, like marketing, like office management, I don't know. So the people who are not now engaged in delivery, we fully are covering their salaries, and they're fully working for volunteering initiatives and managing all that stuff also around the company. And I believe that when people understand that this is not only about we are making the job for our clients, but this is also, about the motivation that our activities is very important and necessary for the country, for army support. It really gives them this North Star and answering the question, why do I need to do this? Why do I need still work with the Ukrainian company as an employee? And why do I need to pay my taxes here? And why do I need to get my work done greatly? Because now I'm not only working for the company, but I'm showing the Ukrainian, reputation and the Ukrainian ability to deliver at the best possible level.
Thank you, Elena, and I appreciate the different angle on that. And, an analogy I use when speaking to customers is just from football when I played at a reasonable level, just, play to the whistle. Ukraine is their business. Our people are working. Don't call time on us because there's no need to. Our people need to work and we're available. Okay, we're coming to the end. So instead of asking the third question, we'll run over time. I'd rather just ask you each for one comment and then I'll do the final bit. So Andrew, you never got a chance to go first, so maybe put you on the spot first. One comment.
No, I think colleagues already mentioned a lot of things that are really vital. For example, 100% of our customers got the same answer from me when asked how they can help. Basically, by just staying with Ukraine and in economic way, that already helps tremendously. Because I think it's not only Ukrainians who are at work and doing their projects and trying to do something extra with a kind of free time or normally family time, doing volunteer, so again, being in local resistance. It's everybody around the globe who feels some passion to protect the values of freedom and democracy, asking the same question, what I can do more and I'm not doing enough. So I think everybody feels that I talk to at least, again, almost 100% of our customers. And yes, explaining that if you look from the country perspective, right, there were three main drivers of Ukraine economic growth, at least from foreign cash flow to the country. Yes, there was grain, yes, there were metals, and yes, there was IT. So you can imagine metals with seaports blocked, the same with grain exports. When seaports are blocked and the grain is difficult to be grown, when there are tanks running around, there is only IT and people mind that is left that can bring economic power to Ukraine and help rebuild the country. And helping that to explain to customers and saying that just by doing business with us these days, you're already contributing a lot. I think that what definitely helps. And I think 100% of our clients know it. I'm sure that 100% of colleagues' clients know that. If more world community would know that and would understand that, yes, it's not scary to do business with Ukraine these days. It's actually you are helping to protect the values I hope you believe in. I think it could do country a lot of good.
Thank you, Alex, and well said. And it's the theme for the audience behind this this webinar, as Andrew just said, that we have the brave defenders doing what they wish they didn't have to do on the front line. So you can support that other battlefront, this battlefront, the economic battlefront, by persisting with business, starting business. Alex, anything you would add or any thoughts as we come to an end? Because I know Andrew covered that topic quite well there.
Yeah, Andrew did a great job, and I think my response will be almost 100% aligned. I would probably make two important things. I want to mention two important things. First one, we as a company made a decision not just continue the operations, but actually stay in Ukraine as a Ukrainian business. And that means using the Ukrainian banking system. That means encourage people to pay taxes, continuously pay taxes. And as Elena mentioned, we redirected not just our operational profits. This decision was made on day 2, but also we had a board meeting where we decided that all the profits that we collected for the last half year in 2021 was immediately spent on the humanitarian programs. Because we understand that we as a business now are, like Andrew said, we are supporting the country, but we also have our part of responsibility. It's not about us as shareholders or as top managers to think about ourselves. It's about how we as a business, without taking guns physically, can help our country. And this is a personal battle for me, for our company, and I'm pretty sure for everybody else here on the Ukrainian side, because we are fighting not just for us and for our country and our families, but for the whole Europe, for the whole Western world, for the whole values of freedom. And that's it.
Thank you, Alex. And I think, again, well said. And I think the wider world does sense that you're at the forefront, making this fight, defending these values that we said at the beginning. I think people recognize that. Elena, I can't let you go last again. So Vitaly, it will be you, but I go to Elena before. So a final thought from you, Elena.
I think that this is a very important moment for us now, not only to think about the defense, but about the development of the industry and our businesses. So I believe, though it might, now sound a little bit strange, what development, new hires, new people, new business, but I believe it might be really a great moment in means of motivation, in means of reputation of the country, and in means of the facilities we do have. So I think that one of the mission of the IT industry after the war, after the victory for sure, will be to invest a lot back into the economy. And it's not only about money. It's, it's a lot about the intellectual stuff, intellectual forces, because I truly believe that what we will need to do in Ukraine is to build the economy of absolutely new level, very innovative, very IT based. And this is what is now already shown by a support of IT industry, but what is doing in our governmental IT programs. And I think that for us, it's now a historical moment that we can not only stay as it is or just win the battle, but we really can build the country of new type, the economy of new type. And I think it might be a very great motivation for everybody to look to the future, to plan the future, even though the moment is not the best one, but still. And as Andrew or Vitaly mentioned, that at that moment we stopped dreaming. I think maybe it's the right moment to start dreaming again and to think how we can focus not only on defending, but on building the new things, because now our mission will be having all those awful things, dangerous things which are happening now in our country, how we build the future, how we build the agriculture back, how we build economy, how we develop IT more, and how we give possibility to people who lost everything, how we give them a chance to build their new life and new life in Ukraine or with Ukraine.
Thank you, Elena. And I can only echo that. In my organization, we see this as a delay and not a long one, but nothing has changed about the future. I haven't seen the blink of an eye about us going forward and achieving what we wanted to achieve. So Vitaly, last word from you.
Yeah, I would support what Elena said. So in many years, we have built very strong industry in the country, IT industry with more than 300,000 people working. And these are young people, well-paid people who travel and who understand what it is to live in a global world. And now I think after this situation, IT in Ukraine will become even more important industry. And we as businesses, of course, we will fully support and we will do everything possible to grow this industry further as fast as possible. So that's our aim, that's our goal, that's our destination, right? To continue building IT industry in the country and support our people and our country in general with our taxes and our work. So I'm very confident this will continue to grow. We'll have some little delay in 2022, but we will overcome, because IT industry has shown that it's a very sustainable industry that can overcome any difficulties. So again, my message is stay with Ukrainian companies, give us more contracts and more extend existing contracts, so this will help the whole country to further develop.
Thank you. And thank you we've come to the end. There was an outro I should read about the ways that people can help, but I think I will not do that because our speakers have covered it more eloquently directly from their leadership position. So let me not add that by reading and you see my eyes go, but let me add, we know this wonderful country of Ukraine feels some pressure, but a lump of coal feels pressure and you get a diamond. and that will be Ukraine. So keep supporting, stay with Ukraine, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.